All right, welcome back to Building CareCo. Took a little road trip on our last episode. We're back on Prem.
It's a few weeks, huh?
Yeah, but we released that episode this past week. I don't think we missed an upload because we did the recap video from our day in New York, and then we did Shlomo put out the podcast for this week that we did in the car on the way to New York. But yeah, big week. Obviously, we had Shavuos this week, which is a Jewish holiday, so we were completely offline for Monday, Tuesday, which was exhilarating and terrifying because CareCo was open, and we had our biggest month in May. So coming off of that, and it was literally June 2nd. It's like the first day of the month. We had a new client that has like 10,000 patients starting, rolling out to their users on the holiday when
really?
offline. Yes. It was like, so it was thankfully, and I actually felt really good about this because by Passover, also, there was a full day that we were offline and we had nobody on support. No one. It was one day, so it wasn't the end of the world, but I put out a message and I said, listen, we're going to work to expand the team and whatever. And comes the next Jewish holiday and we had a full support person. So we did have Aura, who's spectacular on support. So that was really good. And she crushed it. She did really well, but we had a lot going on. And, at the end of the day, Aura is very, very good at customer support, but she's not an engineer. So if God forbid anything catastrophic would happen, there would literally be nobody. And so as the holiday inched to its close, which it goes based on it goes evening to even, like nightfall to nightfall. So the holiday only finishes when you could go on technology and open your phone. It was like 9:30 p.m. So I was like half terrified. Huh? 9:21, yeah. For me, it was 9:18.
Oh, yes.
So I was like half terrified, half excited to see what happened. And like most things in life, it was neither. It was just regular. Thank God everything happened. There was some support issues that were outstanding. Nothing critical. Nothing really happened. Just regular stuff. So that was really cool. But really just coming off the month of May, it was a really, really strong month. So ran the numbers yesterday. We finished April with about 15,000 patients called and serviced through CareCo. And we finished May with about 30,000.
30,000?
About 27,000. No, 27,000 in the month of May that were like completed and spoken with. But we started a few new clients in like the last couple days of May, but fully onboarded them that each have thousands of patients. So they're kind of, so technically we added.
We built for 27, but we have 30.
Right. We added about an additional bunch of patients. So totaling about 35,000 patients basically. So we added an additional 20,000 patients.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Over 100% growth.
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider that growth, like the extra few thousand there.
So yeah, very strong month. We're almost hitting profitability. Like almost either this month or next month, I'm hoping. We have Ambient being used now. So we kicked out that feature a little bit ago. It's being used quite extensively and very well. It's coming off, it's going really well. And now we're really deep in on finishing out the feature set for the communication platform, which is texting and video. You're working on texting. We have another engineer, Menachem, who's working on video. And it felt like a month over. Obviously, we had ebbs and flows and ups and downs, but overall, felt like a month on offense.
Nice. I just want to add that I think we should prepare for next holiday, which is in like 5 months, to have someone that could deal with the engineering problems. Because as we grow, it becomes more like right now we have 150 users on a platform. Hopefully, by then we'll have closer to 500. So we should aim for that. Also.
By the way, I think it's a lot more. When I did the message, I did it on intercom and I set it to go to anyone that's been on, like any live user. And it was 350 or something.
Really?
So let's say some of those are not active anymore for some reason. I don't know, maybe they were like admins or they don't actively use the platform, but we should get our number of actually active users.
Right. Yes, I just think it's going to be, also the holidays, the Tishrei holidays are going to be, we looked at it today, me and Menachem, it's like Monday, Tuesday. I think a bunch of Monday, Tuesdays. So yeah.
A lot of Monday, Tuesdays. Okay.
Or
so,
Tuesday, Wednesday.
If you're an exceptional engineer and you are not Jewish, please join our team because we need people to keep CareCo alive during the holidays.
It's not anti-Semitic.
It's not anti-Semitic. But if you're Jewish, I mean, we also will take you because we also need other engineers, but we specifically need a non-Jewish engineer.
You will have additional value to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so you probably had a lot of thinking time. You had any big ideas you want to talk about from all your thought processes?
Oh, I think I have some ideas. One of them I mentioned was, I think, the notifications one. Which ones did I mention? Notifications? Anything else?
I think we talked. Yeah.
Oh, so notifications I mentioned in the past. No, just I did a lot of thinking through like the different solutions we need to solve for texting, but nothing on a product level that's groundbreaking. I think texting has so much potential around it. It's the nature of how texting is that it's like you send a message, you receive a message, you send. AI can prepare that message for you. AI can process that message that's coming in. I think there's so much to build around that could be amazing. I think like figuring out what's the natural next response to the question that just came in. Almost an auto reply, you just need to approve and it goes. And it can adapt to the tone and the data that's used prior with other. So I think there's a lot to unlock there. Obviously, on the first version, we're only going to be doing texting. And the 10DLC thing is such a scam. It's like one of these like HIPAA things. It's like I think it is people that are creating this regulation to kind of protect somebody, because obviously that's how you do through fear mongering, you get regulation and then you kind of do a money grab. However it is, so this 10DLC registration is you can't send text messaging. You can't send a text to a person, or you could, but the carriers may block it if you're not to a registered brand and campaign. And guess what? That costs money, and not little money. So it's a very cumbersome process. Like for us, it means the whole texting feature is like 10 times more. It's 10 times harder to implement than without it. It's just annoying.
Yeah. You're almost through it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot around it. There's still a lot of managing consent. Can you message this person? Have they consented? Have they not consented? When have they consented? To which number have they consented? From which number have they consented? To which campaign? Like, there's a lot of just rules around that. And just like any other like burden, like HIPAA and like regulation stuff, there's also upside to it, that if it's very hard and we do it well and we create a great user experience in spite of all this nonsense, then we have a big advantage, right? Because it's not hard. It's a hard problem to solve.
Yep.
And to make it a great user experience. And if you overcome that, then we should be doing things that are not easy. If we're doing things that are not easy, I mean, we have other advantages other than doing things that are not easy. We're at the cusp of AI, becoming cheap and high quality, and people, didn't figure out all the use cases, how to use it, and we found a great use case. So that's one big advantage that we have. But I think also tackling hard things and making them easy is going to be another advantage. So that's just my thoughts about that.
Yeah. Unrelated, but related. I was talking to this gentleman that I told you, I mentioned to you, this guy named Levi Sudak. And I was talking through CareCo, and when we got to the tasks section, he was like, that seems to be a space that you could, meaning even with my thesis around keeping the human and the heart of care, but the tasks is something that we could pretty much have an endless rabbit hole of automation down.
In a positive way or
in a positive way? Where
sounds like a negative thing.
No, in a good way, where like there's massive opportunity to automate all these different aspects and continue to get it perfect and super nuanced to a care coordinator's workflow. So we say, for example, right now, and we already started doing this. So for example, the first step is we say, okay, what is the task? The task is to send the doctor a message, right? Okay, we already take the next step, which is, well, what are you doing after that? You're actually writing the message, right? And then we're going to do from there, we're going to allow you to actually, so then let's say we connect to Epic and we connect to the doctor's message basket. And now you can actually send the message from CareCo
Right.
to the doctor. So that's like an example. Then the question is, okay, do we get it good enough where they don't need to even click message text and click send? Does it get good enough where just sends. I don't know like how far we go with that, but I think that's kind of
That's anything. It's also texting a patient.
Right.
I mean, that's the place where that's going to be a massive switch that I don't think we're going to be ready anytime soon. I don't think the industry is going to be ready anytime soon because AI hasn't solved yet for hallucination, hasn't solved yet for the 5 to 1% that problems, and no one's ready to sign off and say, I'm willing to take on that 1 to 5% problems because I'm going to save a lot of money. Like in this industry, not in different industries, it makes sense.
Right.
Like customer service, it makes sense because, you can, certain industries, it could make sense. But in this industry, I think no one's going to have the courage to do that or is not going to withstand it as long as AI is where it is today.
Right.
But yeah, there's so much automation, even technically the calling. Like if we're translating calls live and we're already preparing the call, we're saying everything you need to do. We're scoring you and telling you that you're not doing good. That means we know how to do a better call.
Right.
Then why wouldn't we do the call? I mean, the call is obviously more nuanced and it's much more complex because you have a conversation and you have to actually sound very natural and all that.
But there are I'm hearing about pretty successful, I haven't actually demoed them, so it could be just smoke and mirrors, but I'm hearing about for example, for the annual wellness visits, there's something called the health risk assessment. And it's essentially, you know how I talk about one-way conversations versus two-way conversations with a patient? One-way conversation is you're just trying to get information from the patient. And then there's two-way conversations, which I consider to be the core of care coordination, which is you're actually trying to affect changing the patient's health outcome, change their behavior, make a relationship. That's what I call two-way conversations. But there are some pretty significant and important one-way conversations in healthcare, even in care coordination. So the health risk assessment, this week I heard of 2 companies that do automated, AI bot health risk assessments. And I'm not against it. It kind of makes sense. It's basically a very, very, very long questionnaire. So it's okay, here's what's this question, what's this answer. It's things like that we could figure out very well. Where the opportunities to not to not need people, where are people effective and where are people not effective, and I think we have a really good thesis around that. But going back to the task things the task thing for a moment, I think something that we did kind of fundamentally and from a foundation layer is approaching this from a speech angle. Meaning, I saw a platform a couple months ago from one of the largest companies. Everyone in the country has heard of this company, and it's a platform, revolving patient, kind of care coordination platform. And it was
everybody in the country heard about a care coordination platform.
It's not exactly care coordination,
Okay,
but very, very big brand name, very, very popular platform, and it was 1 million clicks to find something. So it was kind of supporting phone calls, but in order to find the education or to find the education that you needed or the data that you needed, whatever, it's 1 million different clicks to search around. And something that we kind of did at our core is understand that because we built around the phone call, and I think this was kind of very serendipitous that it happened this way, because we started from that problem. I think everything that we've built has been very speech oriented, where we understand that there's so much in a conversation that could prompt other things to happen from voice. So for example, if I'm talking about X, then you should surface Y, because that's the thing that I need. And then when I say I'll do something for you, we should just turn that into something. And then, so kind of revolves around speech. And I actually think that we're going to move further and further in that direction, where AI tools, I use speech pretty much for the entire day. I don't type, I do speech to text. If I'm prompting, I'm using the voice functionality. I think there's something very, very easy about using your voice to get things done with AI. There's something there that we've kind of done fundamentally. And I think that, if you think about it, when God created the world, he prompted it into existence. Huh?
Wow. Oh, nice
So
one.
there's something about speech.
You held that one in for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that queued up.
There's something about speech to action that I think is very natural to creation.
No, I think OpenAI themselves, Sam Altman said, the minute we'll have voice AI, where you can just naturally talk back and forth AI, I think he said that's gonna bring them to, I don't know, he said crazy numbers in terms of revenue or usage. They know that that's the next big thing, but they have to nail it.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's a big switch, that automation. I wouldn't get anywhere near that right now. I think we're building all the right things to have the framework to be able to do that. Once we have a robust calling messaging platform and a patient management platform that kind of holistically understands where's this patient at, what needs to be done next, and flags it to the system, then you can suddenly introduce automation, because then you have visibility on what's happening to the patient, and then you can also audit it. I think we're building all the building blocks, and then to kind of flip that switch to be automated, I think that'll be in a way easy, but in a way hard. I mean, very hard and very easy. So
Yeah.
it's gonna, because the hard is gonna be not knowing what you don't know what may happen, and the easy is gonna be everything is ready, set up. You just need to now say, okay, act on your own, do what makes sense.
Yeah. Also had a really cool conversation today with a gentleman. I'm excited about a possible partnership with them. They do a lot of like the risk scoring and the data analysis that every ACO needs in order to take care of their patients. So understanding what patients actually, so like what CareCo does really, really well is say, okay, we need to have a conversation. We need to lower this patient's A1C. We need to manage this patient's diabetes, whatever, kidney disease. Okay, let's figure out how to do that most effectively. But then there's the piece of the puzzle, which is, okay, but who decides what that patient needs, right? So at the core, there's always going to be a diagnosis code. But even that diagnosis code, it's not custom, I mean, it's the same across the board. The diagnosis is a diagnosis. Now, there's some like subcodes. So there'll be like, E66.9, E66 point this, E78 point whatever. So there's like different codes for different levels of severity. But then that plus a bunch of other data will spit out, okay, this patient is a very high risk patient for X, and therefore we need to do Y with the patient. So this guy's company does that.
Which part do they do? They diagnose, or they say based on diagnosis? Because the diagnosis needs to be clinical.
They don't diagnose, but they take the diagnosis codes, what I understand, and plus billing data, plus a bunch of other data.
Okay.
And they see what's going on with this patient.
Okay.
And based on how many times they're seeing their doctor and what diagnoses they have and their claims data, how often are they in the hospital, they'll assign a risk score to this person. Okay. So, for example, okay, this person has completely unmanaged diabetes and they're in the hospital once a month. This person needs help. You got to get in touch with this person immediately. You got to put them on a plan. You gotta try to, like they're ending up at the ER once a month. That's costing whatever, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month to the system.
And that's not valuable once they're already being treated with a care coordinator, let's say on a monthly basis, right? That sounds
the idea, or get them right before.
Okay,
exactly. Before. So decide who needs good care coordination and what type of care coordination and what the focus of that care coordination should be.
Okay, interesting. So who buys the system? Like health systems that have EMRs and they can plug it in and it kind of surfaces and says, these 10% of people should get better care?
Yeah, it's basically any risk-bearing entity.
Is it people are using it? Is it a product people are using?
Yeah. Yeah, he seems to be doing pretty well. So yeah, I've known for a while that we're going to need to do this. It wasn't like a super high priority for us because we're still just building what we're building.
But you're saying it's the pre-CareCo stage.
Right.
So why would we need to do that?
It's the data that informs the. So when you continue to get really deep on the generation 2 of the call guide, something like this is going to be extremely valuable, because basically you feed it lists of patients and it spits back, okay, you should be doing X, Y, Z. That will inform the call guide. That will inform.
But we're doing that in the call guide already. We're using educational content.
Right, but we're starting from just a diagnosis code.
ICD-10 code, right?
Right. So this is basically that on steroids.
So you're saying this would replace the brain of our call guide?
I don't think it would replace the brain of the call guide. I think it would be a very.
I think that's the core, the core of the call guide, not the call guide, but what we call patient topics, patient management, is the ability to say, okay, what does this patient actually need? What are the critical items that need to be done?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that's what we're building, but okay, sure.
No, I mean, unless we're just talking past each other, I think that what we've discussed is, okay, I have that data, but what CareCo does is basically say, okay, how do I make this actionable at the point of conversation? What's the most effective conversation to have with this patient in order to accomplish the thing? And then we're basically doing all the analysis and we're building the intelligence on the patient and we're doing all that kind of stuff.
I mean, it does.
This doesn't include patient education. That's separate. This doesn't include patient topics. That's separate. This is just basically an expanded version of the ICD-10 code. The ICD-10 code would inform us, okay, this patient has an issue. This is saying this patient, like a lot more detail of what you need to do for the patient. And
okay, so let me tell you the work that I've done on Call Guide, on Call Guide V2/patient topic.
Sure.
Based on the ICD-10 codes, I pull in from different educational sources, mostly a government website, I forget what it is, but that has an API that gives you, for every ICD-10 code, it gives you other sources. With AI, I scrape that data and ask for what are the management recommendations for this thing, and I grab from multiple sources and I kind of comb through it, condense it, make sure it's quality enough, and then that I surface into the patient topics where we kind of say, okay, here's what we need to check. First of all, you need to set a baseline of health. You need to say, I think I should get back to patient topics. I feel like I'm going to start forgetting some ideas, or at least sit down and write it. But first thing is like set a baseline, because the person has ICD-10 codes, but there may be a lot of information missing. There may be details about what treatment did they decide, what treatment have they not decided, why should they revisit that? There's different options, and what are they taking exactly? Some stuff that may not be in the ICD-10 code, like what's their weight situation, their general health situation, stuff that maybe we can pull in from the EMR, but just kind of filling in the baseline to get a good idea. And then from there, you kind of know what are the things that need to be taken care of. You need to put them on a exercise or a diet plan. You need to do this, that. So that's all fed automatically. And that is more of a general management of the patient to here's what needs to be done with this patient. And then that also feeds into the call guides when you say, hey, how's that going? How's that going?
So I really should, I plan on scheduling a meeting with you and him so you can talk these things through. But my understanding is that the other big thing is that it's attached to claims data. So you're going to see all the patient's claims. So when you talk about, okay, well, we need more information from the EMR, this is actually going to give you a ton of data to know what procedure codes have happened, what the patient has had, because everything is a code that gets built. So if you have all that, then it comes together. I think it's only additive. I don't think it's, that's my sense. It's not like something I'm like super proficient in, but
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you could replace it. Maybe if it's a perfect product and it could save us a lot of time, maybe we can just swap it out.
Okay. I'll get you on a call then. But it definitely seemed like very synergistic.
Nice.
Yeah, that was exciting. And then could be cool.
What else? Anything else? News?
Should we talk about the VC stuff or no?
VC?
I told you about today.
Yeah, we could talk about it.
Yeah, why not?
About news, tech news, AI news.
No.
Elon.
I didn't see anything. You see anything? No, like tech news or AI news that stood out. Yeah, Elon and Trump are definitely taking the news by the noose. It's not a term. Yeah, whatever. I don't want to talk about it because it's like,
why hash over it?
Yeah, it's like not interesting. It's not really interesting.
So what is interesting?
We're talking about in your mind, what's the next three months?
In my mind or in his mind?
Start with your mind.
No, in my mind, I think we have an MVP for texting and video by the end of June. We get those tested. Hopefully by mid-July, we basically have them basically stable-ish. And then we're profitable. At that point, Shlomi completely switches gears and we stop caring about new clients necessarily, meaning building things for the purposes of getting new clients. And we start building who we are, the soul of the company, which we have a lot of those elements, but we have very, very, very big plans for those type of things. So version 2 of the call guide, I think, is like the first stop. I think that Menachem can work on some basic things that will allow some of our non-platform partner clients to fill in some of the gaps and like uploading patient context and just giving those users the same experience that users from our platform partnerships will have. and hiring hopefully 1 or 2 new engineers. And
Do we have to focus on profitability?
then we
We can't break even and then get back into debt.
yeah, that's what I think the next 3 months look like. What do you think the next 3 months look like?
Yeah, I think we'll have video and text. Safe to say, definitely by end of July, stable. I mean, what I anticipate, probably MVP by end of June for both. Yeah, like you said. It's so hard to know. It's so hard to know. The picture in my head is pretty similar to yours, I think. We'll finish with, the picture that I have is basically we'll finish text and video, and then we'll move on to either stabilization and call guides, like the focus of both. But we don't really know what's coming. Like, what if we have suddenly 10 times the amount of patients and we need to work on scaling things? What if we have a big client that they're like, oh, we love this, but then and then what if suddenly we start getting partners like from these integrations, like the Helioses, and then we have to support that entire integration and put work into that. So there's so much that we don't know, obviously, but it's not like we're trying to.
Can we get like a mid-tier engineer to just like just play defense?
We could.
Is it a bad idea?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Like, isn't it a waste of somebody's time that could be doing offense and thinking and imagining to just like keep things stable? Like if you're a designer and an engineer and you build, like a building engineer, and you design and build this massive building, but instead of building the next building, I have you actually like putting the concrete on the walls and putting the sheetrock and putting the stuff to make sure that the thing actually why you could go be designing the next skyscraper.
Right. So I think the only solution that works is if the total product and anything that is may be affected by their work, someone that's not on the quality that you want for your core product, needs to be totally isolated. Like, let's say you have a website, and you're like, okay, that we're going to give offshore to some team that we get it for a third of the price. Sure. Yeah. If they don't deliver, they don't deliver. We have but the problem becomes once they touch the code that's part of the critical code, and then they could make something small, but then not realize that they're degrading the quality, and they might try to make a change. And then you need someone senior to look it over, to guide them, to fix their error. Because everything's intertwined, it's so interconnected, code in general, in a code base, then it could seem small, but they're going to mess something up. Someone always has to guide them what they should touch, what they shouldn't touch. It becomes very cumbersome. It's not like other types of work, like media and content, where you're like, I did my thing, I submitted it for review, proved not good, it's done, it's shipped, it's isolated, right? I mean, if you do a video, if you have a video editor that's like not
they either did a
great
good video or a bad video,
right, or decent, but I can ship it, it's worth it, what I paid them for, and otherwise we wouldn't have anybody else. But it's not like it's ruining the rest of your videos that you're going to make. Right. In the code, if they touch the code and they're doing something wrong, they can affect the rest of the stuff that you're doing. And if it's constantly in a state of degrading, it's bad. And then either it's constantly degrades, or they need a lot of supervision, and it's just draining energy.
I think that's something that AI should be able to do, no?
And just look at the best companies, the best technology companies in the world. They don't compromise on engineers, like Netflix or Microsoft or all these. They don't like accept like, okay, you're not that good, but we'll let you like deal with our. No, it's like they don't. There's a bar for it.
So there's got to be. Where do we find these people? I got to start going down to colleges. Like, where do they go? MIT?
Peter Thiel says that you can't expect to compete for the top talent, because the big tech companies paying them a lot more and offering a lot more in terms of I don't know exactly verbatim what he said, but I think the idea of what he's saying is that they have a lot more money to offer. They give them a $500,000 salary. The comp package, the benefits are something that are not even realistic for us to consider. And the amount of work obviously they put in, which is probably 30, 40 hours a week maximum. So what you have to do is, if you want to get people so you have to offer something different. You have to offer something special. And I think that's what we have to find. What is special? What are we offering? Is it a mission? Is it a culture? I mean, we could do the regular HR, like try to hype up our thing. We're changing the world. Everybody's changing the world, right? So We have to find out. We have to be strategic about what's unique about us, what's different. Lean in on that, and then try to attract people. Because if let's say I told you let's say we're weird in a certain way, that attracts 1 in 100 people, right? In a very strong way. That means the 1 in 100 of the great engineers will say, yeah, I can go to Google and get triple amount of money, have a much better resume, and all that. But this really suits me. I like this. So even something that seems very niche, but if you like lean into it, I think that could be a strategic thing. I was thinking maybe like something in the dynamic of the Jewish dynamic, but there could be so many angles that we can do this.
I mean, like so far we've been, and it's funny because with my other company, I don't work with any Jewish or community people, but we've seemed to found. I mean, obviously so far on a small scale, but on a impactful scale, like we seem to find success with people in the community. And the interesting thing about Orthodox Jewish people in the community is that they could be very, very talented, but they typically don't go to school or college or anything like that. And none of us have. And so they're probably self-taught and also probably not being snapped up by Google. And I mean, a lot of these guys do end up getting jobs. Like we have people here that work at Capital One and work at here, there, and the other, whatever. They work at big companies, but they're not going to have that same career trajectory as someone that like is smart and went to MIT and then graduated and, had an internship, and then they're not going to have that. I don't know. Should put ads on COL. What do we?
So we first need to pick a lane. Like what's going to be unique about us? And who is it going to attract? What's the persona that it's going to attract? And why? And then we just have to lean and double down. Like we have to lean in and double down on it. And then that'll carve. It's usually probably a cultural thing, but the culture also evolves around principles, concepts, and then practices that you do. Maybe.
I think an advantage over Fortune 500 companies is low bureaucracy.
It's any startup though. Yeah.
It's a startup.
No, you're right. There are advantages. Okay, to your point, like the comparison I said before between us and a Big 7, Mag 7 or whatever, is that in a startup you learn a lot. So basically the general career advice is go to a big company to make a lot of money, go to a startup to learn a lot and develop fast. So that, there's a huge advantage. And obviously for people that like to work fast and to do a lot and not to be stuck in bureaucracy, like you're saying, there's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
But I guess the counter argument to that is fine. But then there are these big startups that backed by VCs that are pouring millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. And they can say, yeah, we're hiring 500K,
You know who I think we can go after? I don't really know how, but a pattern that I've seen is that you have very, very good engineers and they go to a big company. And because they're so good, the company basically ends up putting them in managerial positions. And they hate that.
Golden handcuffs.
Yeah. But usually those people, after a year or two, they're like, I just want to get back to building. I don't want to deal with people.
But they can change tracks within the company itself. Most of the companies have
multiple times.
Have transition concepts. Yeah. They have things like the good ones. Yeah. Like if you want to move from managerial to IC, they usually have a path because they realize that naturally there's a lot more managers there's a lot more demand for managers, and also that you can grow in a rank always, because ultimately, in rank, like just saying you're a top star is one thing, but saying you're managing under you ultimately 10,000 engineers, it's a manager's position. So yeah, the inclination was always to push people that were good at something to manage other people that were good in it, even though doesn't always work.
No.
But so they came to this realization that they were actually, like you're saying, dissuading a lot of people, and people were like, I want to grow, but I don't want to be a manager. This is not what I do. So they started focusing on IC paths, like individual contributor paths in these big companies, where they say, here we have a path, you can go from this, and they create a lot of names and titles, like you go from L5 to L7 to senior staff, principal engineer, whatever. And
this is not like, just speaking about culture, I started talking to Shlomo Wolf about this, but I sent you a link before, I don't know if you saw it, but there's a million platforms like this. I want to get much better. So I told him I want to start a content stream, like a strategy, just focused on our wins. I feel like we've had so many massive wins, whether it's the amount of clients that we have, the amount of users that we have, patients, metrics, people that are so happy. We get random. That's why I finally had enough. I posted it on LinkedIn, just a screenshot from support of a user just literally messaging us to be like, guys, I love this. This is amazing. Like, who gets that? You know, we've had really, really good numbers.
What about our losses? And why, like, the losses could be more attractive.
That's what the podcast is for.
Because, you know, like, social media is full, like, fake. Everything's fake. Everybody's showing you how they're having a great time on vacation. Everybody's showing you how they're having their house is beautiful.
Real, but we have real wins.
And
know it.
And people are sick of that, I think. People want to already start saying, okay, where's real people? Let's show us when you're down. Don't just show us when you're up. And that's a unique twist.
Okay,
like,
so I think we do that on this podcast. I think this is a good medium for that. But one of the steps that I want to take, there's a million platforms for this, but there's like platforms that you could make it very, very easy to collect a video testimonial. Like let's say,
what would we do with it? What would we do
so
all those days?
What I think, like, for example, if we had every single one of our users send a video testimonial, we would have literally hundreds of testimonials right now on CareCo. And now imagine if you're on the CareCo homepage and you see a section for it and it just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. You just literally just like video after video after video after video after video after video of people just saying, I just saw this thing or I just used this thing, like depending on whatever stage, and just does not end. People just being like, this is amazing.
So this is for the purpose of the website to convince people that this is a great product?
Yeah.
People are already convinced. We have such a great rate of visitors.
Well, I would also, I think you could post it on LinkedIn and you could post it around or whatever, but I think it would be very, very, very powerful. I mean, yeah, I think we're obviously doing a really good job with the website. We get a lot of cold traffic that comes off that's super relevant.
You're saying
like we have
emphasize, re-cement that idea that, yeah, CareCo is great. CareCo is great.
Yeah, those are the best tips. That's the best type of advertising. Somebody else.
Right.
Yeah. And we have it. We just have to collect it. It's like, you know, I mean, there's bigger things that we want to do. We want to create like really cool shareable things and viral things for like internally, like we talked about sending emails, let's say at the end of the week or the end of the month to every single care coordinator with intelligent, like beautiful emails of notes, like, thank you so much on behalf of the patients that they've helped. Like, and like, there's so many things that we can do to foster, you know, to foster.
This is marketing. And what you're saying now is just product, just making a better product.
So
there's so much that can be done. Yeah. There's like so many ideas.
But I feel like it's something that we could probably task, like we could do two things. We could task Aura with doing it for present users. And I feel like I can start making it a habit on onboardings like today and yesterday. I had an onboarding today, I had an onboarding yesterday, I had a bunch of demos both days. I had an onboarding with these two women and they were literally like, the whole thing was like, that's so cool. And that's so cool. And that's so cool. And that's so cool. It was just like one thing after another. Like when you're used to doing a workflow and all of a sudden you see a tool like CareCo that just like every single piece of it. And then every time you have a question like, oh wait, but does it do this? And it's like, yep, it does right here. It's like, they were so excited. They were like, oh my, like by the end of it, just like overwhelmed almost. Like this is
Where do we sign?
amazing.
Where do we sign?
Yeah. No, they had already signed. They were just like, this is amazing. So like someone like that, you're like, you know, can you do me a favor? I love the enthusiasm. Here's a link. Just click this link, click record, and you click stop, and that's it. Like make it very easy for them. They're not like taking videos with their phone and sending it.
Want to vibe code something up?
No, a million of these exist. A million.
Yeah. No, he's experimenting with vibe coding lately.
Nice. Anyways, yeah. So you know, bit of a smaller week. We're gonna have some big weeks. I've got some trips coming up. I'm speaking at a Microsoft hosted event in Times Square. Going to DC at the end of the month to have some very big meetings. We should do another blog style thing for that because that's going to be really cool. Big meetings. We've got
big and beautiful.
Big and beautiful meetings with DOGE actually, and the head of CMMI and the head of Medicare Advantage. Yeah,
I wonder if this whole like Elon Trump thing will cause DOGE to fall apart. So
someone was telling me that, but I don't think they're connected. I think there's a DOGE and then there's Elon's DOGE. I don't know if they're connected. I think there's like Elon's, I think they created an official government. I don't really know. I think they created an official government entity.
No.
DOGE.
No, they replaced the Obama era. They did a lot of tricks there, a lot of legal tricks in order to have a new department or whatever it is. They took an old existing department, they renamed it. It was some sort of tech thing department, and they turned into Doge. I never heard of the two
Fine.
Doges.
But then I think separately from that, there's like Elon's team, like the guys you hear about, and the young guys, and they're this, and they're computer whizzes, and there's Elon. I think it's like separate, and they're like almost like consultants that came in. They're not actually government employees. They're consultants that came in, and they're like helping out.
Could be,
you know.
but it's a part of the same under the same department probably.
Yeah.
Saying some people they're it's more contractual than employment.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, here's to this week.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We have empty cups and stuff.